Your Monday's a little bit sweeter now with the Tennessee football victory on Saturday. Yeah, that's right. Hey, we're going to go back and look at that win, what it means for Tennessee, stats, Cainer grades, scoring plays, all that and more right here on your Monday Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, good Monday, everybody. Welcome into it. This is Locked On Vols, your team every single day. I'm part of the Locked On Podcast Network. That is your team every single day. I'm your host, Eric Cainer. Thanks so much for being here. Shout out everydayers. Twitter Tuesdays coming up tomorrow. Mailbag edition of the show. You know what that means. Get in any questions, comments, concerns at _Cainer, at Locked On Vols, or on the YouTube channel. I try to sprinkle in as many as I can. You guys have been killing it so far through football season, so let's get in those mailbag submissions for the show tomorrow. I'm going to give you some of my notes from the rewatch, scoring plays in segment 2, my grades in segment 3. If you haven't already, go back and listen to the early Sunday morning postcast edition of the show, some raw reactions, some instant takes from Tennessee's 41-20 win over South Carolina. It was so late that I messed up the score. I said 40-21 win, but it was 41-20 win over South Carolina. I encourage you to go over and watch that show on the YouTube channel and, of course, wherever you get your podcast. All right, let's jump down into it. A couple of things that I made notes of going back and watching the game over the television broadcast. Defense is still a story of the day. Defense was incredible. Explosive plays for South Carolina. Only 3 on the night, really. Only 4 on the night, technically, if you go 20 yards or more. The first one was on the first drive, 44-yard screen pass to Marion Brown, and that was a really, really good play. Good design as well. You fake the toss, turn around, get it to your speedy slot receiver. That turned into a field goal. So Tennessee, buckled its back there and kind of stood up strong. So that was explosive play number 1. The second explosive play in the game was on punt return, and it was the fake punt. We'll get into that more in a moment. So I'm not even going to really count that. A 32-yard reception from Xavier Legette. And I will say this, though. Sidebar, Xavier Legette, the guy at the speedster that we've been talking about coming into this game, he finished with 5 receptions for 50 yards. You take out that fake punt reception that he had, 4 receptions for 18 yards. He only had 7 yards after the catch all night long. Tennessee did an outstanding job with him. But I'm not going to count that play. You had the 75-yard run on play number 1 of the second half for South Carolina, and that was Mario Anderson. Lost its gap integrity, the defensive front there, and off to the races. Okay, that's 1. And then you had Spencer Rattler throw of 20 yards to Trey Knox later on in the fourth quarter. Just 3 explosive plays. That's it. And what Tennessee's defense did with that short field, gave up a touchdown. It was, that interception from Joe Milton. I think South Carolina had 1st and 10 from the 27. Gave up a touchdown that drive on the short field. You buckled your back after the 44-yard screen. You held South Carolina to a couple of field goals. You had a pick 6. You had 6 sacks, 8 TFLs on the night. Tennessee's defense was absolutely incredible. One of my favorite stats of this football game. One of my favorite absolute stats of this football game. Listen to this. Wesley Walker. I noticed it in real time, noticed on the rewatch, and I found the stat before I went back and rewatched it because it jumped out to me, during the actual game. Wesley Walker had 5 tackles on Saturday night from the safety position. 4 of those ended drives, meaning Wesley Walker, 4 of his 5 tackles came on 3rd down or 4th down. 4 of his 5 tackles meant the drive stopped. The drive was a turnover on downs or South Carolina went and punted. Wesley Walker played a heck of a ball game on Saturday night. He was really, really good from his safety position. So wanted to share that and give him some mad props. I thought he was really, really good. As I do each and every week, I track Joe Milton's incompletions because I want to see, which ones are just horrible throws. A lot of, it's quarterback. It doesn't matter if it's Peyton Manning or if it's Nico, if it's Joe Milton, whatever. The quarterback is always going to be scrutinized, and I recognize that. But especially for Joe Milton, because everybody, wants, wants him on the chopping block here. I want to go back and track his missed throws. Joe Milton was pedestrian, 21-32. I said that he was mediocre in my short, and that might have been harsh. I guess I didn't mean. I was probably a poor choice of words. I thought he was overall solid on the night. He did have 2 interceptions, very uncharacteristic like of Joe Milton. a guy that is very much a game manager at this point. Joe Milton is who Joe Milton is, okay? He's got unbelievable potential. He has more upside than any quarterback in the nation, but right now he's a game manager. And as long as you take care of the football and you run the football and you play some good defense and you connect on some deep throws down the field, then that's good enough, okay? That's good enough. And I know a lot of people are saying, well, just put in Nico, put in Nico. I mean, there's a reason right now that Joe Milton's playing. And I think a lot of the offensive struggles to this point in the season have been a lot of other things outside of Joe Milton. I think the biggest thing for Joe Milton is, not to get in this Joe Milton soapbox here, I don't care who they play. I'm just telling you what I think, for conversations and everything. But I think the biggest thing for him is, Hendon Hooker could overcompensate for so much last year. Joe Milton can't. Just accept that. And when you accept that, in my opinion, then you kind of see the game in a different light. Anyway, sidebar. I didn't mean to go into that here in segment number 1, but sidebar. Joe Milton's incompletion tracker. Let's see here. His first incompletion was a miss to Keaton. That was a pretty decent ball. He was avoiding pressure as well. Keaton got a hand on it, but anyway, he missed that one. That was a decent ball. His interception was a bad decision. DQ Smith caught it over the middle. He thought they were in cover 2. They were disguising cover 3, and he just didn't even see the safety. Point blank, that's on the quarterback. Didn't even see him, but that's on the quarterback. His third incompletion was a drop, McAllen Castles, who did not have a good game. His fourth incompletion was he missed a Keaton in the end zone. Really, really good ball. Fourth series of the game in the second quarter. It was an out route. Really good defense by the cornerback. Really good ball by Joe Milton. Just couldn't connect on that. And sometimes it happens. Fifth incompletion was in the fifth series, second quarter. Too high to Jaylen Wright on a swing pass. That came after the injury to Brew McCoy. And, man, that whole offense, it took them a while to get out of that funk. Sixth incompletion was a tip ball at the line of scrimmage. Seventh incompletion. Really, really good coverage. Ball was slightly behind Castles, but it was hitting him in the face mask. Slightly behind Castles. Really, really good defense. I didn't think it was a horrible throw. Eighth incompletion was a Utah pass. Not the one that went for 37 yards, but the one inside the red zone, and it got tipped. There was a lot of traffic in there. I would have ate that one. Ninth incompletion was a Chaz Nimrod drop that should have been a first down. 10th incompletion was a ball thrown to Jabari Small out of the backfield that was a little too low, but he got his hands on it. And then the last incompletion of his day was that interception to Jacob Warren. That was a bad ball. Need to throw it out a little bit more in front of Jacob Warren. You're trying to force that in there. Throw it a little bit more inside, and he'll go make that catch, just like he did on that touchdown. So those are some of the Joe Milton incompletion trackers that I track each and every game. We're getting into scoring plays here in segment number 2. A couple more notes I want to kind of end on. Let's see here. That offensive line, I think that's the best collection of the offensive line, those 5 guys. This is what the offensive line I thought was going to be at the beginning of the season. Cooper Mays at center. He came back, played all but 4 snaps on the offensive line. What an effort by Cooper Mays. Thought Ollie Lane would be your left guard. News Johannes Spraggins would be the right guard. Thought Gerald Mincy would be the right tackle. And then John Campbell would be the left tackle. Andre Carrick was injured. J.J. Crawford was not at full strength, so I think when those 2 guys are healthy, they'll play. But I think that's your 5 best collection of offensive linemen. And, was it perfect? No, it wasn't perfect, but you blocked for 477 yards of total offense, averaging 6.6 yards per play. You paid the way for 238 on the ground, which is really good. Your RB1 averaged 7.7 yards per tote. That's not bad. You were 50% combined on 3rd and 4th downs on the day. Again, was it perfect? No, but I think that's your best 5. I truly believe that's your best 5. The pick 6 for Kamal hadn't completely changed the game. I mentioned Tennessee was in a funk after the Brew McCoy injury. T's and P's for Brew McCoy. Had surgery late Saturday night into Sunday morning. He's obviously going to miss the rest of the season. Just terrible. Thoughts and prayers of Brew McCoy, and we'll talk about that, how that affects Tennessee moving forward. But Tennessee was in a funk, big time. Tennessee was in a funk after that. It's an emotional game. When your brother just goes down like that with a gruesome injury, you see it. It affects you. So I'm not over here complaining about it, but Tennessee was in a funk. Shane Beamer elects to throw the football on 3rd and 22 right before the half with under a minute. And instead of going into the halftime break 17-10, Tennessee goes into the halftime break up 24-10 and really took control of that game because Tennessee marched down the field and scored on the first possession of the second half. What a play there by Kamal Hadden. Didn't do anything extraordinary. Again, he was playing well off the receiver because, again, it was 3rd and 22. He was just there. Ball was overthrown. Pressure by James Pierce, who was phenomenal on the day. Took that interception into the house. Changed the game. Completely changed the game. Those are a couple of my notes, and I'll leave it with this. And we can maybe turn this into a show during the off week, obviously, because we're going to have some time to fill. We actually have an idea of who Tennessee is now. I think it's fair to say we didn't really know what Tennessee was before Saturday, because in the one game versus a team with a pulse, Tennessee got its tail whipped. Okay? So did you want to run with that and just say, well, Tennessee's awful? I was like, well, let's give it a little bit. Even you want to give it a little bit more after, playing two teams with a pulse. But prior to Saturday, Tennessee looked horrible against a team with a pulse and did what it was supposed to do against teams with no pulses. Now you have a little bit more data. I understand the offensive line's horrible for South Carolina, but I believe the defensive line's good for Tennessee. I do. And in turn, I believe that defense is going to continue to take a step forward. I think that's kind of my takeaway so far, kind of how we have an idea of what this team is. A better defense, offensive line that's a work in progress that's not going to be as good as last year's, wide receivers that are dropping like flies, and a quarterback that is not Hendon Hooker. But right now he's a game manager. I think that's kind of where we are right now as a football team. 5 games in. We can talk about this as the week goes on. But anyway, a good win for Tennessee, 41-20 the final score. Tennessee, a win over South Carolina, and now we'll have an off week before hosting Texas A&M at home on October the 14th. Hey, when we come back, we'll hear some scoring plays courtesy of Learfield and the Vol Radio Network. That is coming up next right here on Locked On Vols. It is time for your game changer of the week that is brought to you by Athletic Brewing Company, much like James Pierce. So good. 2 sacks, only credited with 1 quarterback hurry. That's BS. Pro Football Focus has him at 3 sacks and 6 quarterback hurries. I'm more inclined to believe that because James Pierce disrupted the entire flow for Spencer Rattler. He rattled the Rattler on the night, and he was incredible. But like James Pierce, Athletic Brewing Company has completely changed the non-alcoholic beer game. They make non-alcoholic beers that actually taste good. Their brews, great tasting, award-winning, beat out of full-strength beers in global competitions. They brew over 50 styles of craft non-alcoholic beer, including IPAs, golden, sours, and more, constantly releasing limited edition of experimental styles to add to their variety. Plus, they're fit for all times, so you can drink them anytime, anywhere, and actually make any activity more enjoyable. No hangovers ever. You can find Athletic in store, online, and at bars around the country. You can buy Athletic Brewing Company's non-alcoholic brews at a store near you or buy online at athleticbrewing.com. First-time customers can use promo code LOCKEDON to get 15% off your first order. That's Locked On, LOCKEDON, at checkout for 15% off at athleticbrewing.com. Near beer, exclusions apply. Athletic Brewing Company, fit for all times. Hey guys, I want to welcome you back into your Monday edition of Locked On Vols. Quick reminder, if you didn't listen to the postcast from early Sunday morning, it was a night game, so I didn't get home until about 2 o'clock in the morning. I encourage you to go listen and watch that on YouTube and wherever you find your podcast, and then taking part this one. I try to do a postcast after every single game. Sometimes it's difficult when they're on the road, but go ahead and check that out. And get in those Twitter Tuesday mailbag edition of the show. That is tomorrow at _Cainer and at Locked On Vols. All right, courtesy of Learfield and the Vol Radio Network, I have written permission to play these audio clips on Locked On Vols, and I appreciate that from Learfield and the Vol Network. Let's hear what it sounded like, all right? Tennessee, a big win, 41-20 over South Carolina, and Tennessee jumped on the board first. Its first offensive possession of the game, 42 yards from Jaylen Wright, to cap a 9-play, 94-yard drive, 3 minutes and 2 seconds on the clock. Tennessee led 7-0 after this touchdown run from Jaylen Wright.
Third down, maybe 1 at the South Carolina 42-yard line. Milton got a handoff, tailback. He's got a first down and more to the 30.
Oh,
right
baby!
Tackle to the 15 to the 10. Crank up Rocky Top. Touchdown, Tennessee. 42 yards. Jaylen Wright right up the middle. Pops it for a big play. And Tennessee leads it 6-0.
What I like about that, that call was obviously accelerated. I don't think Bob Kessling and Pat Ryan were talking that fast in real time. What I like about that, the combo double blocks. Ollie Lane, left guard, center Cooper Mays, taking that one technique up to the backer. Right guard, Javonte Spraggins, and right tackle, Gerald Mincy, taking that 3 up to the backer. And then Wright just finds a crease there and just goes right up the middle. Sounded really good. Great job by Bob Kessling and about said Burt Bertelkamp. Wrong sport. Pat Ryan, VFL quarterback Pat Ryan, and courtesy of the Vol Radio Network, Learfield IMG. Let's continue on here. Jabari Small, he makes it a 2-yard touchdown after it was a 10-0 run, if you will. 10 points scored in a hurry from South Carolina to make it 10-7, and it was a brief 1 minute and 24-second lead for South Carolina. And then Jabari Small caps a 4-play. Let's see this. A 4-play 75-yard drive that took 1:21. It was a 50-yard bomb from Joe Milton to Squirrel White down the far sideline. Have no clue how Squirrel White made that catch. Asked him in postgame, did we, the media, and he said, I have no clue. I mean, he was getting face masks, tugged on the face mask. He couldn't see anything. He made that catch. He had Tony Vitello and the shot behind the catch just going wild. Anyway, a couple plays later, it was Jabari Small that punched it in from 2 yards out, giving Tennessee back its lead, and a lead it never relinquished, 14-10. And here's how it sounded on the Vol Radio Network.
Out of the shotgun, Milton hands off Jabari Small. Yes. He's going to race into the checkerboards. Touchdown, 2 yards out, Jabari Small. And just like that, Tennessee answers the South Carolina touchdown.
From there, Tennessee scored 24 straight points to go up 31-10 at one point in time. That kind of kicked off that. Again, I mentioned that touchdown was the set up by the 50-yard bomb from Milton to Squirrel White. That looked good. We bring you right up to the halftime break, less than a minute left. It is 3rd and 22, and Shane Beamer decides to put the football in the air. Don't understand it. And a lot of you guys still Kamal Hadden haters, and again, that's fair. I'm not trying to say you shouldn't or whatever. You should never boo anybody. I know there's big hoopla about starting lineups, people booing him. I don't think you should ever boo any of your own team. That's just my opinion. But you don't have to like him. I don't care about that. You don't have to like him. But the point is, like, a lot of people are saying, oh, well, he was so far off. Well, no crap, he was so far off. It was 3rd and 22. I'd give cushion as well. It was 3rd and 22. But anyway, James Pierce blitzes Spencer Rattler, causes a bad throw. He sails it right into the hands of Kamal Hadden, who takes it in for 28 yards. And instead of going to the halftime break up 17-10, Tennessee leads South Carolina 24-10 thanks to this pick six. Great theater from 1 year getting smoked and talking crap the entire time to the next year the same team having a pick six. Here's how it sounded. Kamal Hadden's 28-yard pick six, courtesy of the Vol Radio Network.
3rd and 22. Carolina at its own 19. Rattler back to throw. Here comes Pierce, but he gets rid of it. And the pass is intercepted at the 25, to the 10, to the checkerboards. Touchdown. Kamal Hadden, 26 yards on the pass interception for the score. Spencer Rattler never saw him. He threw the ball to the sideline. Kamal Hadden standing right there, picks it off and races into the end zone.
So Tennessee led 24-10 at the halftime break. Here, Pat Ryan really getting animated there. And Tennessee comes right back, scores on its opening possession, scoring 24 straight, taking a 31-10 lead. And Tennessee scores this touchdown, capping off a 75-yard 12-play drive by throwing a 6-yard pass to Jacob Warren. A really, really good pass from Joe Milton to Jacob Warren. Here's how it sounded.
Milton.
You got the slant on top.
Out of the shotgun, gets the snap, looks left, fires, Jacob
Nice
Warren.
catch.
Touchdown, Tennessee. Milton hit Jacob Warren along this near sideline in the end zone. A 6-yard touchdown pass to the veteran Tennessee tight end.
It's a really good ball. That was a good ball there from Joe Milton, so good for him. Tennessee led 31-10. Unfortunately, on the very first play of the ensuing drive, missing some gap integrity by Tennessee's front seven, Mario Anderson, former Division II running back from Newberry College. Again, I'll say it again, Carson Newman took down Newberry Saturday as well, so I want to get that dig in there. But it was Mario Anderson who went 75 yards to the house to make it 31-17. So Tennessee still pretty nice lead there. Charles Campbell adds on, making it 34-17 later in the fourth quarter, 33 yards, and it's good. You had Mason Jeter, whatever his name is, Miles Jeter, the kicker for South Carolina, is good from 47 yards, making it 34-20. And then Tennessee, a little icing on the cake, Dylan Sampson, making it 1 touchdown apiece for Tennessee's three-headed monster in the backfield, a 6-yard touchdown run, capping a 9-play, 75-yard drive to bring it to their final score at 41-20, just under 5 minutes left in the ball game.
2nd and 1 at the 6. Milton going to try Sampson up the middle. Fights his way to the 3.
Touchdown.
And all the way into the checkerboards. Touchdown. 6 yards out for number 6. Dylan Sampson just powered his way into the end zone and pushed that South Carolina defense into the checkerboards.
So that is how it sounded, courtesy of Learfield and the Vol Radio Network. Appreciate them for letting me play these audio clips here on Locked On Vols. And Tennessee now improves to 4-1 on the season, 1-1 in Southeastern Conference play. Want to make a quick note here before we get in to our final segment. Some of you guys have already asked me about it and wanted my opinion on it. What Spencer Rattler said post-game. How he said, quote, I'm not going to say quote because I don't have the quote in front of me. Essentially, he said, hey, credit Tennessee, yada, yada. People have been talking about this game forever. This was like their Super Bowl. I'm not going to bash Spencer Rattler. Like I said on the other show, I'm on the postcast show. I'm a big fan of good football players. He's a good football player. I am genuinely concerned for his safety because I think that his offensive line is going to get him really hurt at some point in time. He's taken a beating. He took a beating the other night. So I hope that he can make it through the season and not get crushed because his offensive line is doing him no favors. I understand it. This game was personal to Tennessee, to Josh Heupel, to Tennessee fans because it knocked Tennessee out of the playoff push last year, and I get all that. It was a late season loss. I get all that. But this was in no way, shape, or form ever remotely considered Tennessee's Super Bowl. The big three every year is Florida, it's Georgia, and it's Alabama. You have the Border Bowl with Kentucky. You have Little Brother against Vanderbilt. Those games are all more important than a game against South Carolina every single year. Now, did this game mean something for Tennessee fans? Absolutely. I'm not diminishing that. But is it the Super Bowl? No, it's not. Listen, he was upset. He was frustrated. He just got his brains beat in. You just lost a game on the road. It is what it is. I'm not going to fault him too much, but that was very, very silly comment to make. Just put it out there. Very silly to say that this was like their Super Bowl. Now, he doesn't have to play Tennessee ever again in his career, so it is what it is. But I just thought that's my 2 cents on it. Stupid comment because it's just hilarious. Because, again, Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Kentucky, Vanderbilt. That's 5 teams off the top of my head right now that I'd put in front of before I'd even think about South Carolina. Anyway, is what it is. Tennessee got that dub 41-20, and I'll come back and share some stats and some Cainer grades when we return right here on Locked On Vols. Want to tell you about our friends over at FanDuel Sportsbook. Snapping in the NFL season with FanDuel, it's America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on all that action than right now. It's super easy to use. Spreads, over-unders, hit that total, tons more like player props. If you're new to FanDuel Sportsbook, they've got great player props, and I think that's be a good starting point for you. Like how many catches for Ramel Keaton next game, say the total set at 4.5 over under. That type of stuff's fun, and they have that type of stuff over at FanDuel Sportsbook. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. Kick off the NFL season today. FanDuel, it's the official partner of the NFL. All right, guys and gals, we got a final segment left here of this edition of Locked On Vols. Again, go back and listen to that postcast from Saturday night or Sunday morning, I should say. Get in your Twitter Tuesday questions @_Cainer at Locked On Vols. Quickly, let's go ahead and go over some stats real quick. Tennessee got its center back. Thought that helped with the tempo, especially in the first half. They decided to slow it down again in the second half, and I just don't get it. I mean, sure, you're trying to ice away a win. I get it. I understand that, but keep the foot on the pedal. Let this team get some work with some tempo. I mean, goodness gracious. Tennessee had 477 yards total offense on 72 plays. First time since the Virginia game that Tennessee has been in the 70s. That was good to see. Averaged 6.6 yards per play. You had South Carolina, 333 yards of total offense, 63 plays, 5.3 yards per play. Tennessee and South Carolina. Actually, Tennessee was penalized 7 times for 58 yards. South Carolina 5 times for 35 yards. Tennessee dominated first downs, moving the chains, keeping drives alive. 24 first downs for Tennessee, 11 for South Carolina. Rushing yards, Tennessee dominated. 238 yards on the ground compared to 132 for South Carolina. 75 yards, reminder, 75 yards came on one play. of that 132. Tennessee averaged 6 yards per carry. Passing yards, Tennessee had 239. South Carolina had 201. And remember, 33 of those came on a fake punt. Tennessee had 7.5 yards per attempt. South Carolina had 5.6 yards per attempt. Tennessee had 11.4 yards per completion. South Carolina had 8 yards per completion. Possession time, I don't really care about that. Third downs, Tennessee 7 of 15, 1 of 1 on fourth down. Tennessee's third down and fourth down defense was really, really good in this game. All right, you had 2 of 14. South Carolina converted on just 2 of 14 third downs and just 2 of 5 fourth downs. So you compare that to last year. So Tennessee's defense, South Carolina's offense was a combined on third and fourth downs, converting just 21% in this football game. You flash back to last year's game, South Carolina was 8 of 11 on third down, 2 of 2 on fourth downs. Again, quite the turnaround in that respect if you are the Tennessee defense. We'll stay on defense right now. Wesley Walker, again, 5 tackles, 4 of which were drive enders on third or fourth down. I love that stat. Omar Norman-Lott, 4 tackles. He had half a sack. Kamal Haddon had that interception, pick 6. Amari Thomas had a sack. James Pierce had 2 sacks and 1 quarterback hurry. Felt like he did so much more. Again, I remind you, Pro Football Focus had him at 3 sacks and 6 quarterback hurries. I think I'm leaning more towards that. That sounds more right than 2 sacks and 1 QB hurry, but that is the official stat somehow. Dominic Bailey, half a sack. Joshua Josephs had a sack. Herod Garland had a sack. Overall, Tennessee had 6 sacks, 8 TFLs, 1 interception. That was really, really, really good to see. Let's flip it over to offense. Joe Milton, 66% completion. He was 21 of 32, a touchdown, 2 interceptions, 239 through the air. He was sacked 1 time. Spencer Rattler, 69% completion. Nice. 24 of 35, no touchdowns, 1 interception, 169 yards. I was trying to work another joke in there, but I'm not that sly. Running game, Mario Anderson, 10 carries, 101 yards, and a touchdown. 75 of those came on 1 play. That was pretty much all the run game that South Carolina had on the day. Not a very good running football team. Jaylen Wright, 123 yards off 16 carries, 1 touchdown, 7.7 yards per carry. Jabari Small, 59 yards off 11 carries, 5.4 yards per carry, had a touchdown. Dylan Sampson, 49 yards, 9 carries, 5.4 yards per carry, had a touchdown. Tennessee's 3-headed monster, looking real good. Receiving, 9 targets, 9 receptions, 104 yards for Squirrel White. He was all over the place. Jacob Bourne had a touchdown. Let's see, Chaz Nimrod and Caleb Webb both had to step up and play following the injury of Brew McCoy. Tennessee was without Dante Thornton in this one. And then we'll go to special teams. Jackson Ross continues to be a flippin' beast, okay? 3 punts, 2 of which sailed over 50 yards. He had 1 inside the 20. He had 1 that came back on a punt team penalty that he had inside the 5, which was ridiculous. Jackson Ross is good. Charles Campbell, good on 2 of the field goals that he attempted. He attempted 2. He made both. Let me rephrase that. Good from 24 and 33 yards. Josh Tuberville, 8 kickoffs, 6 touchbacks, 1 out of bounds. Now it's time to get some grades. Here is the grade sheet. I'm not a football coach, so take my grades with a grain of salt. A lot of you guys are still going to complain. It is what it is. Quarterback, you're going to get a C. You had 2 turnovers. One where you just didn't even see the safety. And the other one where you were just trying to force the football in there because you just did that and found a touchdown out of it. If you would have threw that a little bit more inside, maybe it would have been another touchdown. Joe Milton was overall solid, but he did turn the football over twice, and that's very unlike him. Joe Milton, C to C- in this one, but solid overall. Running backs get an A. Enough said about that. Tight ends, you're going to get a B. Jacob Bourne had a really, really good game, had good blocking, had a touchdown catch. McCallum Castles did not have a good day. A couple of crucial penalties, had a drop that was crucial as well. A couple of those came on back-to-back plays, and it's kind of like quicksand in that regard. So that kind of evens it out, so I'll give the tight ends a B. Wide receivers get a B-. Squirrel was really, really good on the day. Again, he was targeted 9 times, had 9 receptions. Couldn't come out either because I know he missed a couple of snaps, and they put Chaz Nimrod in the slot, but he didn't have another slot receiver. Tennessee's going to get really creative, and we'll touch on this week as this week goes on. But Squirrel was really, really good. But Chaz Nimrod dropped a third down reception that would have moved the sticks. I thought Romel Keaton could have helped out his quarterback a little bit more. They were okay. I'll give the wide receivers a B. Give the wide receivers a B. I think they've been better this year, but still much better than where they were to begin the season. And the offensive line, I'm going to give a B+. Again, there were times where the offense stalled. There were times where the offense couldn't get a lot of rhythm. It's not all the offensive line's fault. End of the day, I think this is the best group of 5 you've got. You had nearly 500 yards total offense. You dominated the run game. You allowed only 1 sack. And I thought Joe Milton could have got rid of that football as well. Overall, I think the offensive line had a pretty solid day against the Southeastern Conference front. So I'll give that offensive line a B+. Defensive line, A+. A+. My other favorite sack, my favorite stat from this football game, Wesley Walker, 5 tackles, 4 of which ended drives. Number 2, Tennessee had 6 sacks, all 6 from members of the defensive line. Rodney Garner, we'll get into this on Wednesday when we do Pro Football Focus Stats That Matter. Rodney Garner played a ton of guys up there, but nobody played a whole lot of snaps. Gotta love it. 6 sacks, all coming from members of the defensive line. A++. Defensive lineman rattled Rattler and really kind of changed the game. The defense followed the defensive line's lead in that regard. Linebackers, I'll get a B. Aaron Beasley, I do not think was at 100%. I think the off week's going to be good for him. Saw a whole lot of Jeremiah Thielander, Arian Carter, and of course Elijah Herring. So I like the young, forced rotation, if you will. Those guys got to grow up. I'll give the linebackers a B. Defensive backs, B+. Thought defensive backs did a really, really good job with the underneath stuff, the lateral stuff, whereas it did not do well at Florida, but it did well against South Carolina. And you're seeing how, the defensive line's getting some pressure. Look, it helps the secondary. Funny how that works, right? I thought the defensive line played really well, or the defensive backs played pretty well. Wesley Walker played really, really good. We'll look at the Pro Football Focus Stats That Matter on Wednesday, but you had a guy that was averaging 310 yards through the air. Spencer Rattler throw for 169 yards. Job well done, defense. Job well done. Special teams, you're going to get a D. Hear me out. D. Williams, shame that doesn't count. He is so special with the ball in his hand. Should he get opportunities on offense with the injuries at wide receiver? We'll see. But man, like the good, Charles Campbell, 2 for 2 on field goals, good. Ross Jackson, a weapon, good. And it's a shame that special teams as a group is going to get a D, and maybe this is too harsh, but hear where I'm coming from here. This group is going to get a D because what are you doing? And some of this is coaching. So stop trying to pin guys on a kickoff. With the kickoffs out of bounds, I'm pretty sure that's what's happening because Josh Turberfield boots everything easily through the back of the end zone. Yet sometimes he goes out of bounds. You can't tell me you're not trying to pin somebody back. And that was almost disastrous because you had the pick six from Kamal Hadden. You had a personal foul penalty on Danico Slaughter on the celebration. That way you moved the kickoff back. And then a penalty on top of that. They got the ball at midfield with a chance to go score. What a horrible, horrible penalty there on the kick out of bounds. I don't know if that was Josh Turberville. I feel like that was a called play and try to pin him on one side. Just don't do that. Quit doing that. Just kick it deep. Kick it deep. There was that. You had a penalty on punt team where you didn't have enough numbers, 5 men on the line of scrimmage with numbers 50 through 79. Whatever that crap is, I don't know what it is. I'll ask about it, but I'm not the coach. Know that if you're the coach. When you're doing rugby-style stuff, when you're trying to get different looks on punt teams, you better know the freaking rules. I mean, that's coaching right there. Like, what are you doing? There was that. Christian Conner, young freshman, made a mistake. It is what it is. But negates a beautiful punt return with a block in the back well away from the play. And then, of course, the fake punt. It's not like you're playing Shane Beamer, whose nickname is Beamer Ball, for doing stuff on special teams and trick plays and stuff like that. And a lot of people are saying, oh, well, it was an illegal pick. It was an illegal pick. You are never going to get that call on punt team. You are never going to get that call on punt team. You know why? Because it's punt team. You're not looking for that if you're an official. So, I mean, goodness gracious. Get it together. It's a shame your punter was really good and your field goal kicker was really good and your unit, according to, me, going to get a D. Just the operation, not good. And then coaching, a lot of that was special teams coaching. Didn't like some of the play calling at certain points at times. I'll give the coaching a B. Overall, Tennessee, a win, an impressive win against an SEC quality opponent. We'll continue to see what it looks like as it builds. A&M coming in 2 weeks. Has Tennessee arrived? No. Does Tennessee have a lot of things to clean up? Absolutely. Is Tennessee the 85 Bears? I don't think so. But did Tennessee whip that tail Saturday at Neyland Stadium, do a lot of good things? Absolutely. Something to build on for sure. That'll do it here for this Monday edition of Locked On Vols. Appreciate you guys for being here. Tuesday's edition is the mailbag edition of the show at _Cainer, at Locked On Vols. Get in those questions, comments, concerns for Twitter Tuesday coming up next right here on Locked On Vols. Appreciate you guys and enjoy the rest of your Monday, everybody.